Hello and welcome to 9-Inch Charge. Today we are talking about some rumours that have emerged for Warhammer the Old World that started on Discord and have ended up their way on the Grand Alliance forum. And they discuss the future release schedule for the game, a new edition, campaign books, and possible new factions. So grab your tankards, it's Old World Wednesdays. Okay, Tom, so these rumours kick off with no returning legacy factions for at least a year or so, and don't hold out much hope for it until the second edition of the Old World. The reason being they've been recently refreshed with funds allocated to Age of Sigmar. So basically saying that Games Workshop have just spent a load of money investing in these factions. So I think they probably want to get their money's worth out of the new models before they start looking at bringing back a range to the Old World. But encouraging that, it seems like, according to these rumors anyway, they're not completely off the cards, the old factions returning in some way.
No, and I think that's quite positive for people who do collect those factions. And there's some really cool stuff in there. I know we talked about Dark Elves last video, so I'm hoping that might bring Jeremy back in. I might even pick up some Dark Elves because those models were quite cool.
Yeah,
but I think this year, by the sounds of the rumors, is going to be quite a quick one for Warhammer: The Old World. Dan, Beastmen and Wood Elves could be out before Cafe, and Cafe is rumored to be out summer 2025. That's only a few months away.
Yeah, so this rumor says that Beastmen, Wood Elves, and Cafe will be the only release of the year. And that was kind of my thinking, was that we would have Wood Elves and Beastmen in kind of summertime, and then we'd have a lull, and then we'd have Cafe kind of out in the winter. But I have been hearing things. I spoke to somebody today, actually, who will remain nameless, who said that they wouldn't be surprised if it came out around about the summertime. We know the boxes have been sat ready to go for quite a while. We'd heard that the photos were done, they were in the boxes, they were packaged. They were just waiting to go be shipped out or sit on, your shelves in your shops when they were teasing the High Elves going to be released. So, they've had a long enough time now that they've been waiting. So they might be keen to get them out sooner rather than later, which would be great news, and then open the door for a possible other release before the end of the year, which is also rumoured. If you want to talk us through that one, Tom.
So really interestingly, in this same Discord, we also see rumours of Kislev should be ready to go by early 2025 also, with some people alluding to the idea that the photos were done back in August 2024. So we might just be waiting for a good window to see those products ship as well, which would be insane.
Be amazing to get two brand new factions in the same year. Would be incredible. But this goes back to kind of speculation about what the Old World was conceived as and the way it kind of turned out and what happened during COVID, because initially it was going to be Cafe and Kislev, and they said the models would come to the game, and then COVID happened and the lead of the project changed, and then we got Bretonnians and Tomb Kings and all the other factions come back without any brand new armies straight away, which I think was the right call, because it's a very nostalgic game, and releasing the old.
I think it's the right call. I think if they had done it the way we initially thought it was going to happen, with Kislev and Cafe being the first two factions out, and we were speculating how the rest of the release would have looked like, I just don't think the game would have gained as much traction, because everybody would have been playing two armies for a fairly long period of time, and that's all we may have seen. So I'm quite glad that they've kind of diluted the pool with all of these nostalgic armies that people want to get their hands on. And now they're giving us the new hotness, because let's face it, we've all committed.
So it does suggest that those two factions were first and were already made, kind of good to go all of that investment was done, and now we're seeing that reward. So it would be great if we could see them sooner rather than later. I had my reservations personally about whether they want to do 2 big releases back to back. Didn't know if they'd want to, give people a bit of a time to buy Cathay before they start releasing Kislev. But yeah, if that's the rumor, I'm all for it, because it's just great to have more models and more investment and more armies into the game that we love.
Yeah, being a bit thirsty, I just want to see more. Want to see more.
So the next rumor is that there were 6 dossiers given for possible new armies that have been proposed to the studio. Now, not all have been approved, and some may arrive in the future, 2026 onwards. So the fact that not all of these have been approved sounds to me like it might be a bit of a wish list. But there might be something in here, and actually a couple of people have chimed in on the Discord and said, oh, I've heard that, or I know that is the case. So there are some in here that may well be true. So the first one is Southernland Mercenaries, or Marienburg Mercenaries. The second one is Ind, which is interesting because when they did the Cathay reveal, they did like a flyover of the map, and one of the areas it flew over was Ind. So that is an interesting thing there. If you like to see Bengal tigers and elephants in the game and all that kind of weird and wonderful stuff, that would be cool. The other one was a Drake army, low model count army like giants, which would be made up of things from the Monstrous Arcanum. And then faction sub-factions like Middenheim with dedicated troops and heroes, a Hobgoblin army, and then an army of the North, like a Norscan army or something like that. And a campaign book that gives you new army lists. So lots to talk about in there.
I think the Ind one's interesting, Dan. I think it'd be very different aesthetic for the game. However, I leaning towards the idea of if it's not in Total War, I'm probably not hopeful on seeing it for a time. Because we know the design team worked alongside Creative Assembly when doing Total War 3. And if there's no sign of Ind, I don't know. I think that's very wish listy for me.
The one that stands out to me personally is sub-factions like Middenheim with dedicated troops and heroes. I think that definitely has got legs, because if you want to expand an army or come and visit an army, we see this all the time. When they do this for factions, when you get a new book, you might get a new hero, you might get a new unit. So if you've got a hero in a new unit that is sub-faction specific, and then you've got a new list you could write. There's a new way to play your army and a new fun kind of unit that you can include.
So interestingly, Dan, I think there's more in the rumor mill that leads into that. So as you said, there is rumors of a campaign book. There are some further rumors of a Empire Civil War campaign book. So that's the 4 emperors. So we could really see some interesting stuff for the Empire come in with sub-factions and all of that fun stuff I know we've talked about before. And then leading up to the fall of Prague, which that would be an interesting campaign book.
So that would be 2 campaigns. You'd have an Empire Civil War, and then you'd have the War Against Chaos in 2 separate campaigns. They would be so good.
It would be good. Great way to introduce your Norska army as well. When you think about it.
And you can't have Prague without Kislev. So if we are building up to that makes sense. That for me makes a lot of sense. And when we know we're not far away from the Great War Against Chaos, so if we were going to have that campaign, I think it would be a cool time to release Kislev as part of that campaign, which is why I would lean into them being a bit further off.
Mean, if we were to add your own wish list to the old situation, a 2nd edition box set called The Fall of Prague. With a lovely new Kislev army, a lovely new Norscan army.
It'd be amazing.
Take my money, someone.
The Empire campaign book is a really cool idea, but it's also quite niche because it's only for people who collect the Empire. So it makes me wonder if they would do something a bit more general that other factions can partake in. As much as it's cool because I've just started an Empire project and you've just started an Empire project, and we want to paint all different regions, and city-states.
I think there's a good portion of the hobby world out there who would jump in on that and buy into a campaign and pick up some bits and bobs for Empire and do a little army for it if they had a gaming group to do it with. Like we've done it. I don't think I had any real intention of buying an Empire army until everyone was like, oh, let's do the 4 Emperors, even though we knew it wasn't really happening with the Empire release. And then a few months later, we hear this rumor. But now I'm really invested in that project.
Yeah. And the last rumor is about the 2nd edition. So it says that Chinese players will be spoiled in the next edition. And the difficult thing for armies will be to find big contingents of mercenaries who fight alongside them for profit. And Tilia is full of them. So that to me is saying loud and clear, Dogs of War will be returning.
Oh, Dogs of War. Do you reckon they'll do a naughty, like, do the old boxes, bring the old stuff back, or they're going to do brand new Dogs of War?
I hope it'd be a mix. I'd like to see the old stuff reimagined. I'd like to see, like, the thing about the Dogs of War is there were so many cool units in there. When you think of like the Birdmen and all these kinds of like crazy things that they had going on. So I think this is the thing, isn't it? This is the thing about Old World, is that it's a very nostalgic game and people have got strong ties to it and good memories of it. But also we want to see something moving forward as well. So for me, personally, a mix would be great.
Yeah.
That takes us to the end of the rumours, really. So what can we say?
Do you know what, though, Dan? I just want to say that rumour engine, or that rumour mill, is really exciting because there's, apart from maybe Ind, there's nothing in there that I don't think's plausible and really exciting. Like now I've got the Old World in my hands. I just feel like it can go anywhere with it, and they're going to do some really cool stuff.
The Old World in his hands. He's got
I just think it's going to be amazing. Like next year could be massive for the Old World, and that's just going to be ridiculous. And I've already like forgotten about cafes coming out this year, and that's going to be amazing. So next year might be even more ridiculous. And I'm just ready for it. I'm ready to be there.
So my take for these is take them with a big pinch of salt because they're unverified. We don't really know where they've come from. They're just really cool to spark discussion and, you know, speculation and to get the conversation going. But I would definitely say now we've seen Cafe, Kislev has got to be a given. It's great they're talking about a 2nd edition. It's great they're talking about campaigns. And I think the sub-faction thing especially, I would say we're probably more likely to see a faction come back, like the Dark Elves. Spoke about that in the last video, my reasons why I think that, than a brand new faction. But I do think we will see new factions. And that these dossiers have been given out that there's ideas floating around in the design studio. That all sounds pretty likely to me. But let us know in the comments which rumours you lend credence to. Let us know which faction you think we are likely to see that we haven't seen yet. And also, let's start a bit of wish listing as well. Let us know what your wish is for the future of the game. So, bit of a short and sweet one for us this time round, but we will be back next Wednesday with another episode of Old World Wednesdays. So make sure you tune in then. Make sure you bring your tankard. Make sure your ale glass is full and raised high, and we will see you then.